Welcome along to the F1 Esports Series Pro Championship 2022. It is the final 3 races of the year. We have 5 drivers in contention to win the Drivers' Championship. And we've got just as many people on the sofas today. Nick Hamilton, Tom Deacon, Hayden Garlis and George Morgan. Welcome, chaps. Looks very cosy. First and foremost, Nick Hamilton, great to have you back on the show. No claps, though, as I came down the stairs. Really appreciate that. Oh, yeah, there we go. Thank you.
We were worried you wouldn't be able to sit down.
There was tumble. You can stop now. The tumbleweed was full-flown. But Nick, great to have you. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing really well, thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me back. I've missed it. It's been quite a long wait to reconvene this amazing championship. And yeah, we've got 3 fantastic races in store for us. It's going to be amazing.
We certainly do. Tom Deacon, you're sat next to the
greatness.
Nick. Yeah, exactly. How you doing, my friend? You good?
I'm really excited to be back, to be on quite a packed sofa area. Little bit jealous that you get your whole sofa to yourself, but I'm very delighted to be next to Nick, so I'm really looking forward to it.
3 races to go, Hayden. We've got 5 drivers in with a shout of winning. It's tasty.
It's all getting very exciting, isn't it? 5 drivers with the hunt for the championship. The team's championship still not wrapped up as well. So a lot to play for in these last 3 days.
And George Morgan back once again, league racing legend in the commentary scene.
Never get tired of that.
Are you looking forward to... I am paid. Are you looking forward to the 3 races, especially Suzuka, coming up today?
Yeah, I'm buzzing. I mean, it's the best time probably to come in to the championship. We've got 5 contenders. Can't wait. I love Suzuka. Lots of action, and we've seen plenty in the past. Let's go.
Let's go. Tom Deacon, Are you ready to go?
Yeah, when George Morgan says, let's go, there's an element of everybody thinking, oh, we better go then, but we can't until everything is ready, everything is in place. There's much to talk about, George. We can't just get to the action. That is not what happens here on the Quali Show.
Now, only 3 drivers have made it through to Q3 in every round of the Pro Championship so far this season. The first one we're going to talk about is Lucas Blakely. He started the season incredibly strongly and has been the championship leader going into the last 3 races. And we thought at one point it was going to be the Lucas Blakely show. We thought he was going to run away with it. Thankfully, for our sakes and for the storylines, he hasn't. He's still very much in with a shot. But you have to say, apart from maybe the win at Zandvoort, it's been damage limitation for Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, he got the early advantage straight away. He started the season really, really strongly, took the lead, and has led ever since, really. But it's sort of declined a little bit, perhaps, if you compare the form recently as where it was at the start of the season. But you can just see the raw emotion from that young man. I'm sure, without a doubt, he's going to be bringing that same tenacity here for the final event.
Oh, look at that. We've got him on screen right there, looking very, very serious. So, of course, Lucas Blakely starting the season so strongly, which has allowed him to have that cushion going into at least these last 3 races. He's still a little bit ahead of the chasing pack, but that can easily be eaten up, as we saw in the last 3 rounds in particular.
Yeah, I mean, he's been leading the championship all the way through this season, and I'm sure every time he goes into an event, he's thinking, I can't make any mistakes here because one slight mistake and my championship lead is gone. And he's managed to keep his head, even though it has been damage limitation. But going into the last event this week, it's only him to lose it all, pretty much. He's got it all to lose because if it ended now, he'd be the champion and the first championship under his belt. So yeah, a lot of pressure on the boy.
Hopefully Lucas isn't watching this show, otherwise he's just been piled on the pressure.
No, but you know what I mean? I'm just being realistic. I'm being realistic.
Everything to lose, Blakely.
I think event 3 was one for Lucas not to forget, but to learn from. And if you're going to have any sort of blip, and it's not a blip in terms of how good he's been, it's just not at that high level and getting the wins and getting podiums. He's got Barry Boromund, his teammate, right behind him, putting some pressure on. But hey, you've had the blip, if we can call it that, and they'll get back to winning ways.
I love the blips we talk about half a tenth in qualifying, aren't they? But anyway, let's move on to our next driver, which is Thomas Ronhaar, the rookie, the absolute sensation that has graced this 2022 F1 Esports series. And he took it to the big boys. Freddie Rasmussen, he beat around Austria to get his first ever victory. And an interesting celebration, but a celebration nonetheless. And then fighting Barry Burman for the victory on the last lap of the race in Monza. And just about managed to clinch that one. And he has very much had a kind of an opposite sort of journey, I suppose, in terms of when we look at Lucas Blakely, he was really strong at the start. Ronhaar lost points at the start, but is now on a serious charge.
Yeah, he's been really strong throughout the whole season. Average qualifier, I think he's been at the top. I think it's like 2.1 or something like that.
I think
insane.
He knew what the number was.
Yeah, I knew it was. This is where it's actually wrong by 1 or 2. But he's been really strong. And I mean, that first race in Bahrain, that's what it could all come down to for him at the end of the day, when he had that little bit of contact with Rasmussen. I think the nerves were there at the start of the season as well, because he started so strongly, but I think the first 3 races he just dropped off a little bit from the grid in the first couple of laps. But he's got over that, and he's got 3 races now to go fully at it, and he could be a rookie champion.
He could, and that was an interesting point. The fact that we were speaking about his racecraft at the start of the races, at the start of the season, was that he was losing a few positions. We were going, is he ready for this? Give it 2 or 3 races, he's settled himself in beautifully, and now we're very much talking about him being a potential winner.
Yeah, I think we've been a bit unfair on him, saying that he started so strong in qualifying and then he was, a bit lacklustre in the races of the first couple of laps. But that's because it's his first rookie season and his first couple of laps like in the mix. And I remember saying, back in the past on the show, saying once Ronhaar figures out what he's doing on those first couple of laps in the race, he's going to be a real force to be reckoned with. And I was right. I was right. And he's now, he's put that behind him and he's now super strong, both in qualifying and in the races. And he's come away with a couple of wins. And now he's looking to potentially take his first title in his first year.
Nick Hamilton is always right. Barry Burman next on our list, who is the final in terms of getting through to Q3 every single time. He is a bit of a quali specialist, but he also took it to the race as well at Spa, getting his elbows out, getting a warning, in fact, for that final lap incident with Freddie Rasmussen. but still securing the victory. And we talk about emotion, we talk about passion. Barry Burramund, he was on the verge of tears, if not weeping, when he secured that victory. And Barry Burramund, again, he kind of had a bit of a slowish start. We thought, OK, he's very much the number 2 at McLaren Shadow this year. Blakely at the start, we go, oh, he's going to run away with it. But Barry as well has been picking up really consistent high points finishes, and he's in the mix.
I mean, I don't know, George, I know he's ready to say something on this, but just to nip in there quickly.
Go on.
Barry Burramund is just been... You say there's a slight slow start. Well, that's because Lucas was just lights out and he was fantastic in those first 3 races. The form that he's on at the moment, since getting that maiden win at Spa, he's outscoring his nearest championship rivals. And if he continues to do that, then he will be our champion today. So he is...
Today?
Today, as in today, yes, he could
We
be
are
the
not
champion
crowning
today.
a champion yet.
No, but by the end of these 3 races, he could be the champion, and that's just showing how much in form he is right now.
Now, let's not forget our champion from the last 2 years, Jarno Opmeer. Can he make it 3 in a row? He has been on... We're talking about charges. This is some charge from Jarno Opmeer. We were, I think quite rightly, saying, look, it's not Opmeer's year this year. But now he is very much in the fight. It is in his hands as well, crucially. This battle on the last lap at Kota was just one of the most thrilling things I think I've ever seen in F1 Esports history. And he came out on top there, and that was so crucial for him. I think if he doesn't win that race, we maybe aren't speaking about him being in with a chance of winning this World Championship. But he's within 1 victory of Lucas Blakely. There's still a chance for Jarno Opmeer.
There is, and he's such a raw talent. I've had many a great league racing commentary moment talking about the great Jarno Opmeer, the Flying Dutchman, as I've always called him. I mean, he's very much a character that can develop a last to first or even a finish out of nowhere. And he certainly did spring that on us at USA. So do not write him off to do that again, because he is just that sort of a character.
Now, finally, we do have to mention Freddie Rasmussen as well, who is also in the hunt. He never seems to be able to clinch that driver's title, but has been part of a very successful Red Bull outfit. Hayden, how do we see Freddie Rasmussen's chances in the
Look, I think he's still in it. I think what happened in Mexico, we've talked about it. I think we've said our opinions on it, and we know where we stand, but we've got to move past that now. The decision's been made, and he got the penalty, and he came back really impressively in that USA race. He scored highly, and he's still in the hunt. And we know that if there's anybody who can be consistent in these last 3 races and take that championship, it is Freddie Rasmussen.
Right, we've hyped it all up. Let's take a look at the maths now and see exactly how it stands as we head into the final 3. Lucas Blakely leads at the top of the Drivers' Championship, 11 points ahead of Ron Hart. Then 3 further back is Burramund, 3 further back from him is Rasmussen, and then you have Jarno Opmeer on 110 points, only 22 behind Lucas Blakely. That is in his grasps if he wins the final 3 races, but that's a mountain of a task for any of these drivers to manage. And then we take a look at the Teams' Championship. Not so close for P1. McLaren Shadow have probably already ordered the party balloons, but there's certainly plenty to play for 2nd, 3rd and 4th between Red Bull, Mercedes and Haas. That's going to be a fascinating fight to keep an eye on, Nick. Which one would you say is the favourite to clinch the runner-up?
To runner-up, it's looking like Red Bull are looking strong, aren't they? I mean, I would like Haas to do the business and get P2, because we haven't seen Haas do so well as a team in F1 Esports. So why not? And obviously they've got Ron Hart, who's really helped get a lot of points. But yeah, it'd be great to see what they can do at the end of the season.
Lovely stuff. Let's take a look at a social media roundup now then, shall we, before we get into the action. First and foremost, it comes from Luke Smith, F1 Esports Race Day. Let's give him a hell for one last time this season. And I feel like he's changed his profile picture since I think I asked what he was eating in his last one. No such food for Luke this time. Let's take a look at the next one from Darius. This is going to be the first weekend I'm watching F1 Esports. Where have you been, I want to ask? Goodness gracious me. Yeah, you can see what Tom Deacon thinks of that one. But great to have you, Darius. Thank you so much for tuning in. Flourish Fires, good luck to everyone in F1 Esports this final week. I have a feeling this event is going to be one that we will remember for a long time, and you know it's going to be exciting when there's an eyes emoji. So, Flourish, looking forward to it. And look at that. Hello. When's the album dropping, George? Love that. En route to London.
What that?
Yeah.
Thankfully, you have arrived. You are here.
I did make it, despite the travel issues that have been vastly, widely reported.
And who took that picture, George?
I can't go into detail on
One
that.
of his many fans. So a very, very striking pose from George. Great to have you on the show. Now, I guess we're turning our attentions forward now to Suzuka, to qualifying, how important the quali show is. That's why you're tuning in, all that good stuff. Actually, before we do that, Twitch chat, get involved. Send in your questions, your comments via there or hashtag F1 Esports on Twitter. Now, back to excitement. Are we looking forward to this?
Twitch chat is very exciting when it's not so toxic. But yeah, it's great. Suzuka. I tell you, someone who is looking forward, Daniele Haddad. He got his maiden his podium at Suzuka, so he'll be looking forward to get racing there. As I think we all
had some rumours, had some things on the grapevine, George Morgan, that Daniele Haddad looking very good. Will he now be knocked out in Q1? Probably, but he looks quite
that's
good.
not very nice.
No, from jinxing perspective, Nick.
No, I thought he was quite good at Imola. I have to be fair. The last time I was here, he was sensational, and I've been watching him recently, and there just seems something different about him. He looks really sharp. Seems to be well versed to his rig. I've been very, very impressed with the Italian. I think he's been superb.
Yeah, and I think he has those moments, doesn't he? He has those moments where he just stands out and you go, "Oh, Haddad, hello."
Yeah, from nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. So one to look out for. Would you say, Nick, anyone else that you're particularly looking out for away from the top 5 to maybe cause an upset?
I think Brendan Lee. I think after his performance in the US or Austin Grand Prix, I think he did a really good job. Looked like he potentially could have won it. But he's in the mix. He's always there or thereabouts. So I think it'd be great to see him cause an upset, maybe take his first win of the season.
Now, if you're watching the quali show for the first time, as we saw on the tweets, here is the format, and it's Q1, Q2, Q3, very much like real life. 18 minutes for the first session, then 15 minutes for the second, 12 minutes for the third, and that's where we have the top 10 shootout for pole position. But if you're one of those top 5, you have to be making it through to Q3. We need to see those top 5 drivers in the championship all making it through to Q3 if they want a chance. Let's go back to 2020 and see how things stood after the Suzuka Japanese Grand Prix qualifying, and Freddie Rasmussen was on pole position there. He'll want to replicate that today. Daniele Haddad, we've just been speaking about him, a bit of a Suzuka specialist, it seems. Marcel Kiefer, he needs to perform for Red Bull if they want to be securing that runner-up spot. Jana Watmir, I think if he gets 6th, that's kind of where we've expected him this season, and then he comes back in the race much stronger. So I guess one of the drivers we will talk about, Danny Moreno, not featuring, but we'll get to the driver lineup shortly. What do we make of that 2020 qualification?
Well, it's interesting. I was going to say.
Well, I was going to say as well.
Are we going to say the same thing?
Because I was going to point at you and say, what I did there was I pointed, he started talking and I started talking, but Manuel Biancalila, I mean, was it your nan that was most shocked?
She was very shocked on the last quali show when he appeared with no clothes on.
So
it's not what she expected to tune in.
If that could happen again, that would be great for his nan.
She said shocked, didn't say she enjoyed it. But, anything else? I imagine Hayden wasn't going to say that. So
was he not?
I'm not going to ask the question, is Biancalila wearing clothes today? Lucas Blakely, Barry Bormond, and also Thomas Ronhaar haven't competed because they weren't up there last time, so they haven't competed around Japan. So that's quite interesting to see how they will do.
But I did see Lucas Blakely post a screenshot that he's done over 1,000 hours on the game, so I feel like he's got the experience there for that.
Not in a race in F1 Esports.
Lovely stuff. So let's take a look at the Suzuka track guide then, shall we? And here it is, the beautiful, legendary circuit. One of those where you got some very iconic corners, 130R, Nick Hamilton. It's one of those tracks that's a fan's favourite, but is it an overtaking opportunity fest?
I mean, especially into the hairpin. I don't know what turn that actually is. But there's a hairpin.
11.
You see, turn 11. Yeah, a lot of opportunities into turn 11. But really, as an overtaking opportunity circuit, I would say one of the tracks that has the least amount. But you can overtake into turn 1 and 2.
So what you're saying is the quali show is even more important today?
It is, and I think it's super important for the top 5 that have, competing for the championship, because one slip up in qualifying or any qualifying in any of these events or this event, and they're potentially out of the title race. So I think today is going to be really, really important for everyone.
George, you have plenty of experience commentating with these guys and whatnot. What can we expect from Suzuka today?
Well, I think it's going to challenge the drivers in a sense of how many mistakes they're going to make. I certainly think the first sector, when you rise up that high elevation incline through that weaving left and right, the snake section, I like to call it, it can throw a few drivers off, and you might find a few opportunistic moves being made. I would say the turn 11 hairpin is probably one of the hot shots, I'd say, of the actual circuit itself. I think if you're going to make an overtake there, you might see a few drivers perhaps attempting a late break into that particular portion of the track. Turn 1 is also a great chance too.
It's a good chance, but I guess
he
it's
just
quite
copied what I said.
He did.
He added more,
which
though.
means, again, Nick Hamilton's right.
Yeah.
I'm backing you up, Nick.
Yeah.
Cheers, George.
No worries, man.
Let's take a look at the drivers' lineup, shall we? And what the teams have done in terms of fielding their drivers. And Alfa Romeo, Danny Beresne's back again. We love to see it. AlphaTauri, Sebastian Job and Yoni Tormler. Congratulations to Sebastian for securing that Red Bull simulator job. Role. Alpine, Smith and Schipos. And then we move over to the second page. This is where Haas, McLaren Shadow, Mercedes, Red Bull and Williams. A lot of the championship contenders here. So no surprise, they've all been fielded. But Jake Benham, he is taking the spot of Danny Moreno, potentially for the whole week, which is quite surprising. But for at least today, Benham in for Moreno.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at me. Do I need to answer that?
Yeah, but when you look at you,
Usually when I look at you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, good for him. Good for Jake. Good for Jake to be back in the hot seat, and for Mercedes to give him an opportunity to continue to develop. I would say his first couple of races, he probably struggled more than maybe he expected or I expected. But for Mercedes to give him another opportunity shows that they believe in him, and he just needs to believe in himself to the point where we know what he can achieve and what he can do, because he's done it to this point already.
Tom.
I just put my pen up in the air. Thanks, Matthew Gallagher. I would say, interesting, you asked Nick earlier about the team championship. Red Bull have got Freddie Rasmussen, obviously, you would assume he's going to get the most points. In the same with Mercedes, with Jarno Opmeer. It's down to that second driver. Who's going to help? Is Benham going to step up and get some points? In the same way that Marcel Kiefer, we sort of haven't been mentioning his name a lot this year. So I think it's really going to ride on the second driver for the next 3 races.
It certainly is. It's been a big learning curve, I'd say, for Marcel Kiefer, who kind of came to expect finishing on the podium, being in with a shout of, somewhere near the top of the driver's standings. This year's been a big reality check for him.
Yeah, he's had flashes of good performances. Imola stands out, where he was up there on the podium, I believe. But, yeah, it's been a bit of a reality check this season. And this is going to be a really important final event for him, because he needs 3 strong races to prove to Red Bull, look, I'm worth keeping around. There is potential here, and we can work as a team again to win back this trophy here.
And someone knocking on the door is Josh Edu, but he's not actually been fielded, which, again, I'm like, what's going on here?
That's a bizarre one, because he's been in the form of his life, really. And I was really impressed with him all season. I mean, AlphaTauri, if you look at it, they're probably best of the rest. I think if you look at it on paper. I mean, it's been incredible to see Josh Edo's rise in generation throughout this season. He was great at Imola again, to some degree. Obviously, not as good as the season before, where, of course, he led the majority of that race. But this season in itself, he's far more consistent, and it's really exciting.
And it feels like he's the team leader, in my opinion, like the one that's genuinely able to get the biggest results for the team. And I know there's this strategy of, right, you focus on this track, and we'll go that way. But the top teams show that that's not needed. You don't necessarily have to do that. And for me, Josh Edu just seems like one of those drivers that could step up to the plate and do what the likes of Mercedes, Red Bull, etc. Yeah,
absolutely. Mentally strong. I think that is a necessity. He's been hitting the gym a lot lately too. I've seen pictures of him lately. He's hench. Simon Weigang was sharing pictures of him the other day on Twitter. But yeah, incredible. He's a great young talent. Is certainly a bright spot for the future. So
you better be careful not to rip his wheel off the rig.
Yes.
That'd be a good start. Maybe that's why he's not fielded.
Or Danny Beresne's pedals.
Oh, God, yeah. Poor Beresne's pedals. As you can see, Q1 has begun, everybody. So you don't have to say in the Twitch chat anymore when's qualifying, because it has begun. But they're all on intermediates, as we always have to talk about. But if this is your first quali show, they go out on intermediates just to make sure everything's working. To have a little toodle round, get some air time if you're Manuel Biancalila. And then we will get into the more interesting stuff very shortly. Some drivers don't bother to do it because it messes up with their delta, and maybe they don't like to see huge amounts of green compared to others. And it's clearly personal preference, because there's some drivers that stick in the pits and don't bother with that sort of stuff.
Also messes you up a little bit with the grip, because initially they're quite grippy, these intermediate tyres, when you're heading into the first couple of braking zones, but then after that, very quickly, they're going to fall away. So you lose your eyes. So therefore, you're the first lap on the softs, is even worse than what a normal banker lap would be because you're a little bit more tentative because you're used to that grip that you had on the intermediates. But I still think, I'm back in your idea, intermediate championship, everyone on it needs to happen.
Absolutely. It would definitely make the first part of Q1 more exciting. So what you're saying is all of these drivers are on the back foot by going out on the intermediates, or is this just your personal preference?
My personal experience from doing this is what happens. Obviously, you know, maybe I'm close to these guys, not quite on the same level, but yeah, this is what happens to me when I do it. So
Hayden Gullis thinks he's close.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many seconds off
I'm
are you?
within a couple of seconds. That's good. I'm within a second. That's good, isn't it, Nick Hamilton?
That's actually all right. Yeah, that's
Within
all
a
right.
second,
Within
we'll
a
see about that one.
really
It's
good
always been
thing.
a couple of seconds. Have you improved since the
have,
last quali
yeah.
show? Okay.
Really?
Put down a little bit more.
Interesting.
Were you reading the Twitch chat? Did that put you off at any point? I saw recently.
No, let's just forget that happened. That would definitely not was around here.
It felt like a massive waste of your time. You put so many laps in and then looked at the Twitch chat.
Yeah, may have had a little glance at the Twitch chat, but
It's all right.
we glossed past that. Nothing happened, don't worry.
Anyway, Danny Beresnay's on soft tyres, so we don't have to talk about that anymore, which is perfect. Tom Deacon, you've got that beautiful book open. Before Danny Beresnay starts on his flying lap, what amazing information do you have to share with us?
Nothing, unfortunately, about Danny Beresnay, unfortunately, and he is the driver that we're watching at the moment. But in the same way that Nick said about Brendan Lee being his surprise driver going into today, and maybe someone who can muscle in with the top 5, it has been a bit of a return to form for Danny Beresnay. And did so well, and we were thinking this is it, and then Alfa Romeo were like, oh, he's not racing in the next race though. but it's trying to find that consistency and that form. And as Nick said earlier, Brendan Lee is definitely a driver that stands out for me. Got driver of the day at COTA, and it just shows that you can't write off these drivers that aren't there or thereabouts in some races, and out of nowhere you're like, where was this form? So hopefully Danny could do that today.
It's amazing how it can just click. Like for Beresnay, we've been talking the entire season saying, oh, he can't make it out Q1. You know, is this the sort of end for Danny Beresnay's sim racing career, at least in the F1 Esports Series Championship? And then all of a sudden he has a couple of amazing performances. Oh, he's back. That's it. You know, what would have changed so drastically for Beresnay to gain such confidence and great results?
Well, it could be their practice schedule. They might be just mixing things up in the way they prepare for races. I mean, I'd argue that, like you say, Brendan Lee, who sort of, over the last couple of seasons, seen a little bit of a decline in his performance in terms of winning championships. I'd say this season is probably the best we've seen the likes of Brendan Lee in a long, long time. Same can be said as well, as Tom alluded to Danny Beresnay. It could just be something simple as just mixing things up, maybe different methods of practice, maybe more competitive racing. It's only he will be able to tell you, but he does look a lot more confident behind the rig, and this is a confidence battle in many ways, because at the end of the day you have to trust yourself to go later on the brakes, earlier on the throttle. All these little things really do come into a decent lap.
He's had a really tough couple of years, hasn't he? I feel like he really struggled at McLaren. You know, and when you're feeling that low and down, it sort of spirals into a downward spiral, and then you really got to pick yourself up. So for Danny to have gone through such a difficult time and now picked himself up where he's really showing the form that we know he's capable of, you know, it's real kudos to him.
There's Beresnay over the line. The first lap time on the board, 28.451 behind. Longuet's going slightly quicker. Biancalil's set the fastest middle sector of anybody. Still manages second, does Manuel Biancalil, 19 thousandths behind. Longuet goes half a tenth quicker, and usually Longuet is quite a good benchmark for us to see the kind of pace that's going out there. So that's I'd say a pretty decent lap from Beresnay as well, to be within half a tenth of Longuet. Simon Weigang been sharing pictures of Josh Ido being ripped, apparently, according to George Morgan. Goes P2 and displaces, or it goes into the sandwich of the Alfa Romeo drivers.
Can I start being gossipy in the fact that why was Simon Weigang hanging out with Josh Ido? What's going on here, Aston Martin driver Simon Weigang? Are you already looking at 2023? Yeah, it's getting gossipy. Where's he going? Is he moving? Is he going anywhere?
Yeah, but the thing is, you're the only person gossiping.
Yeah,
So it's not
exactly.
really
But I've started it. I've started the gossip. I've laid a marker down of the gossip, and no one else wants to. Okay, that's where the gossip died.
Oh, lovely. We need to have like a little gossip section for you next year.
love that.
That's like a whole new show. Isn't it?
Yeah, just leave it in the Twitch chat. Let us know.
It's going to be clean and nice.
Or maybe they're just friends, and that's where we'll end the gossip. Boom. OK, so we've still got 16 other drivers to set a lap time. Those 4 have gone very early in the, I guess, the grand scheme of track evolution. The circuit's not going to be in its optimum form right now. So the other 16 not bothering at all, which is a very different run schedule.
Yeah, and these 4 drivers we have run very close within each other, within a tenth of a second amongst those guys. So that's kind of setting us up, hopefully, a really close competitive Q1 session that we're going to have, as we've got Jake Benham on an outlap at the moment. I've backed him a few times to get pole position. Back Benham. We're not going to do that anymore because it seems to be jinxed.
To be fair, we need to do some quality predictions because why not? Q1 is not the most thrilling, or at least the first half is not the most thrilling. Nick Hamilton, who are you predicting for pole?
Freddie Rasmussen.
Tom Deacon.
Looking at the data in front of me,
OK, Hayden Gullis.
Let's go with Barry Bormond.
I'm going to
George
go
Morgan.
Thomas Ronha.
Tom Deacon.
still looking at the data, what I would say is, based on this, I know it sounds crazy talk, Marcel Kiefer.
That is absolutely crazy. I am going to go for Lucas Blakely. Let's back Blakers.
No one's gone. Did you go for Ron Hart?
Yeah.
I did.
Okay, I thought no one went for Ron Hart.
I never predict Ron Hart because the odds on him are, terrible. Because he's got the highest and the best average qualifying position of the year, so you have to expect him being in the top three. I think his worst is fourth, is it, or something outrageous like that? So it's a safe bet, but it's one that you're probably going to win your money.
Well, I spoke to Thomas Ronha on the lead up to this particular
name drop.
event.
Hello.
Name drop.
Well, I can name drop many drivers on this.
Well, if you just went, I spoke to someone, it's not.
Well, he's told me that he's never practiced so good, and he's so prepared for this final event. So, I mean,
That's scary.
I mean, he has ice through his veins.
So he hasn't practiced as much in other races, and he's done just as well.
He's just said that he feels confident, I think, and who can blame him? I mean, in terms of rookies, he is probably one of the sharpest rookies going this season. So, and probably since David Sinitsa back in 2019.
Yep.
He's definitely got a strong grip on the rookies of the year at the moment. Just noticing, I think it's definitely in a rehearsal, and as Matt always points out, yes, we do rehearse, that David Sinitsa is not racing today, and the last rookie to go on the win.
Benham, big error there, and that is going to ruin his lap completely. He may well finish it just to have some sort of lap time on the board, but that's going to have cost him at least a couple of tenths there for Benham.
Just going to say that obviously Benham, another rookie that I was going to mention, Jake, he didn't need to do that to stop the flow from the Deacon here. But yeah, David Sinitsa, the last rookie to go on in his rookie season to win the title, and that could happen with Thomas Ronha. And if George says the truth about how he's got ice in his veins, look out Lucas Blakely. Thomas Ronha is gunning for this title.
Certainly is. Jake Benham gunning for that Mercedes seat, you have to say, with Danny Moreno not being fielded once again. But that mistake from Benham is not going to be ideal. Let's see where this puts him after that big error. Oh, my goodness me, he's gone fastest. Despite that massive correction, I suppose he's gone slightly later, so track evolution kicking in a bit better. But for Benham, not too shabby whatsoever. Definitely lost, he's lost just over 2 tenths to Marcel Kiefer in that middle sector. So that is where quite a bit of time has been lost. Here is Marcel Kiefer. Did he go a little bit deep into that final chicane? We'll have a look and see. Marcel Kiefer towards the lines of 28.244. Yeah, so we did lose a bit of time, I think, in that last sector. But Benham went purple in sector 3. Jarno Opmeer, Benham's teammate. Goodness me, only 5th for Jarno Opmeer. That's not the banker that you want. Brendan Lee goes P2. That's definitely what he wants for now. Joni Tormela taking a bit of curb there, but still very much valid this lap. Joni Tormela has to really deliver here if he's going to take the seat of Ido. And there's Freddie Rasmussen, George.
Yeah, Freddie Rasmussen coming into the final chicane now as well. He'll be setting his first lap here on this session. As he now crosses the line, immediately goes third fastest behind his teammate. Red Bull currently first and third. And in comes Thomas Ronha, the man who I'm tipping to take pole in this qualifying session. He comes up towards the line himself, goes to the top, a 128.088.
OK, yeah, no, maybe I want to change my prediction.
You can't do that.
No, I know I can't. But here's Blakely. Here we go. My prediction for pole. Lucas Blakely, how's his lap looking? A bit steady in that first sector, not particularly great in the middle either. It's going to be 11th for Blakely at the moment. That is not the kind of lap time he wants, but Ronhart, a 10th.5 clear. Make that a 10th as Donoso goes second fastest in the Ferrari. That's a great lap from Fabrizio, fully confirming why he's in that car over David Tonitza. And now, do we go into a lull before the next set of laps? Jarno Watmir, currently 16th.
Yeah.
Do not count him out, we were saying.
Good from his teammate, though, to be able to have that mistake and put yourself above a two-time world champion. And I'm just confident knowing that I'm not the only one who makes that mistake through that corner. But there's a lot of danger zones around this circuit, a lot of places where you can invalidate. I'm sure we're going to see one. I saw Danny Beresne earlier on, I think on this run, actually invalidated his lap. You can do it in that place where Jake ran through the first Degner as well. You can just go a little bit too wide through there. Spoon is an easy part of the track to just take it a little bit too hot through there, run wide, take a bit too much track limits. And of course, you've seen them through that final chicane. They're taking so much curb on the inside to gain tenths of a second, less than that.
Those curves are lethal as well.
And it's just so easy to just go a little bit too far over and invalidate. But they've got to be on that limit to gain all the lap time and try and beat Thomas Ronhart, because that is a very impressive lap this early on.
Yeah, very, very good indeed from Ronhart. To be conservative with Benham's lap time, 10th.5, let's say he lost with that mistake. That's putting him up in P3, and all of a sudden he's feeling very, very safe. But right now, you know, P12 for Benham, he's going to have to go again. I'm pretty sure everyone bar Ronhart is probably going to go ahead again. Maybe Donoso risks it on that .1. But again, advantage Ronhart already being able to save a set of tyres.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sitting in P3, would you go again? Do you think all those other drivers would potentially beat you and knock you out of Q1?
I think at a .244, with, again, you take into account slight track improvement by the end of the session, it's possible. I think for Kiefer, he won't feel too safe, but let's see. We'll keep an eye out to see how many drivers risk it to save that set of tyres. But if you're Ronhart, you're putting your foot.
I mean, would you risk it for the biscuit? Would you risk it?
Yeah, I would sit in the pits, mate. Yeah. Keep that set
You
of
like
tyres.
to do like half a job though, don't you really? Just go out and then just relax and then not do much after.
Thanks, as always, for your incredible insight, Nick Hamilton. It's great to have you back on the show.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Tom Deacon, speaking of fantastic insight, you do give us some
Yeah, I do.
nuggets of information.
Little shout out to Philippe Schneider, who is not racing today for Alpine. Broken his toe, I believe.
That's not good.
Ideal. Not ideal.
Which toe?
I think, I forget the Latin name. Here we go. I think it's third one along. Got no idea, mate. I've got no idea. It could be the
That's
big
a shame,
toe.
though. It's a shame.
It is a shame. However, his teammates Luke Smith and Patrick Schipos having to do the business for Alpine. And I tell you what, they need a bit of a return to some sort of form in this race. But that's for the next 3 races. Luke Smith and Patrick Schipos representing. So speedy recovery to Philippe Schneider.
Yes, speedy recovery.
Absolutely. I bet he'll be absolutely gutted. To miss the pinnacle of this F1 Esports series. So I hope he recovers soon. Speaking of doing the business, Alpine not really doing it at the moment. Schipos 15th, Smith invalidating, and is currently 20th. And Luke Smith put that tweet out saying he's ready to rumble and all that good stuff. I mean, an invalidated lap time is not going to settle your nerves, is it?
No, I think certainly when you're coming down to the final minutes, you want at least a banker just to sort of fill you with that confidence, because if you put something on the table, at least you know that you've got a lap time to declare and also measure against as well. But yeah, Luke Smith is going to be on the unfortunate end, I think, of a tricky ending to Q1. So it's all on him, and to be able to perform in these clutch circumstances is what separates the drivers from each other, really.
Big pressure for Danny Beresne now, 17th at the moment, 28.451. We thought that might have been an OK lap time, considering Longuet was only a half a tenth up the road, but he's improved to P7, has Longuet. There's not a lot of improvement needed for Danny Beresne as we wait to see what his first sector is saying as he comes up the hill. And we'll find out. Danny Beresne, 32.1. So that's half a tenth off the fastest first sector we've seen. That's good enough. If he continues on this trend, Danny Beresne will be making it through to Q2, but plenty of corners still to go on this hot lap for the veteran as he negotiates the hairpin pretty nicely indeed. they take that corner in 4th gear, which is just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Like trying to minimise the wheel spin and the traction loss. And now we're into Spoon Curve. Have to be so careful not to extend there. Those white lines, do not put all 4 wheels over them, otherwise it'll be invalidated. Danny Beresnay still very much on a lap at the moment. What's the middle sector saying? 17th at the moment. It's an improvement. It's about just under a tenth off the fastest we've seen in the middle sector. So this definitely is an improvement for Danny Beresnay. Now, the horrible last chicane. I don't think anyone enjoys going through there, do they? As Danny Beresnay drives towards the line now, currently 17th, and he goes up to P3. That's a very good lap time for Danny. But will it be enough? Jarno Opmeer, 17th. Is he improving out there? He is, but is it enough?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, obviously, great to see Beresnay get to the top. Marcel Kiefer now going 2nd fastest as well, ahead of Donoso. Opmeer now coming round towards the 130R in the Silver Arrows. Now he's going to hurtle down towards the next chicane, the final chicane as well. The bump that used to exist after the chicane is no longer there, so these drivers are able to attack it with the throttle a little bit more than what they were able to in previous years. Here comes the Flying Dutchman across the line, and it's 5th fastest, and surely that'll be enough to be safe.
Yeah, just slots in behind Beresnay. Daniele Haddad, we've been hyping him up, goes 3rd fastest. There's plenty of improvement out here that we can't really secure Opmeer, Lee as drivers that are safe right now. Avara Caraton, 14th. That's going to put him under a lot of pressure indeed come the end of this session. Now 15th. Luke Smith hasn't got a lap time on the board, only manages 18th. Freddie Rasmussen's 14th, now 15th. As he now comes over the line, improves to P2. Very nice lap from Freddie Rasmussen. And all of a sudden, Opmeer's down to 10th, Lee 11th, Tormula 12th. Jake Benham, great lap from him, ahead of his teammate. Lucas Blakely currently 20th, only 8th for him. Yoni Tormula is on the cusp at the moment. Nicholas Longe, you have to say, is going to improve. Someone else has also improved there. Tormula is out. Brendan Lee really under pressure. Jarno Opmeer could go out here if Nicholas Longe improves his lap time, and that's going to be enormous for Opmeer's championship chances. And Longe goes 4th. Opmeer out in Q1, along with Lee, Tormula, Caraton and Smith. That is a huge blow for Jarno Opmeer, the 2-time champ.
Well, I'm going to retract my statement that I thought I was going to be safe. It is not safe. 16th for Jarno Opmeer, the Flying Dutchman.
Not flying.
Is not flying. Certainly not this time. I think the plane's had a malfunction, but now he's in 16th place. Not a great place to be. Certainly
I cannot believe this.
Battle.
I cannot believe it, but that is the only thing, really, when you look back at the data throughout the season so far, and it comes down to the data. I keep saying it because it's fun. Jarno Opmeer has not qualified well. It was the last 2 races in Mexico and Cota where he finished at P3, P4, and that's the only thing that's held him back. This is it. What is it now? Down to 3 in the title?
Well, 3. We've lost 2 now, have we?
Well, I don't include Freddie. I'm not including Freddie.
Come on.
I'm not including Freddie in this.
You can't discount Freddie Rasmussen.
I know I do.
If he's got a mathematical chance, he is included.
Absolutely, he's ahead of Opmeer in the driver championship.
It's down to
Anyway,
3. It's down to
we're
3.
talking about Opmeer right now. You know, we speak about his bad qualifying, but they all have to make it through to Q3 realistically to have a great opportunity here. There is Opmeer, not happy. We saw some great emotion from him after winning Cota, but that is again like another reality check. And there's Haddad, who is absolutely loving life.
I think he's shouting Vamos.
P8
place
for him in Q1.
Impressive.
Yeah.
And great to see. That's the kind of result that we knew was within his potential, and he's managed to make it through out of Q1. And speaking of, we were talking about Donoso, will he go out? And he did go out, and it would have been very close because he was on a 0.2, just sort of a low 0.2, and a low 0.2 was the cutoff for Opmeer. So everyone bar second place had to go out again, otherwise they would have been knocked out. So the improvement is massive there. Of course, if you're Thomas Ronhaar, you're banging in a 28.0 on your first lap. It's a scary level of performance that not anyone else can seem to really manage, at least right now today for Suzuka.
No, it's incredible. And Suzuka throws lots of variables at you as a circuit. It's so tricky. And the fact that this young man is able to step up and put in a first lap, as crunching as that, P1 off the bat, 1 lap, against those who are improving on their second runs and not even touching him for that top spot is phenomenal. I just think he's a different character.
It's a big statement of intent.
Yeah, I mean, the extra practice that you said that he's been putting in is clearly working out for him. He's very strong there. To go first lap up there and then be like, do you know what, boys, I'm done. and then to still be first. Like, we've seen it before where people have done that and they've been overtaken, but they've been comfortably safe. But to still be in first position, if he does that again in Q2, he's going to have 3 brand new sets of soft tyres to go out there. And I mean,
fun.
he's going to be taking home his money, putting it all on one half.
Absolutely, your predictions are looking very good. And let's take a look at the bottom 5 from that session. So Otmir, huge scalp for the Mercedes driver. Brendan Lee as well, we're just hyping him up. He's always there or thereabouts. Nope, 17th for him. Joni Tormela. Will Josh Edo going? Come on, guys, give me a chance here. Would he have done better? Who knows? And Alvaro Carreton and Luke Smith, the 5 drivers out, and Q2 is underway. So we've got more action for you right now, as Barry Burman has already taken to the track. So again, does Ron Haar wait just a slight bit here to allow the track to bed in? Does he have that confidence to go, right, I'm going to have 1 attempt again? Like we saw, I think it was 4 went out straight away in Q1, then 16 waited a little while longer. Do we see the same for Ron Haar? Waits a little bit, pops in another worldie, and then just, thanks so much, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can wait till about 10 minutes to go for that lap in the middle of the flow of the qualifying laps, and see what happens. There's still the chance for him to go out for that hot flyer if he does make a mistake or if he's not quite as comfortable as he was in Q1. But yeah, I mean, just try and save as many tyres as possible. If you're that confident you're going to get into Q3, save as many tyres as you can to go for pole.
Can I just ask, in event 3, we had Italy, Mexico, Cota. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it was Monza, right? Wasn't it? Okay, good. Double check. Now I'll say what I was going to say. Jarno Opmeer, P17 that day. Jake Benham had it all to do, and he's pretty much, for Mercedes and this team championship, has it all to do today as well. So come at the moment, come at the man, and this could be Jake's day.
It certainly could. Again, out qualifying Otmir. Yes, there was thousandths of a second between them, but clearly the pace is there. Whatever setups they're running, Mercedes had it right with one of the cars. Benham's through to Q2. Otmir, wasn't really even in conversation for him to not make it out of Q1. Maybe we lose him in Q2 because we know that he struggled a little bit in qualifying. But this is such a big moment for the championship, where Otmir, who we've said has to win the last 3 if he wants to keep it within his hands, now has to be praying for rain. We have to be praying for his sake, a China, where he comes from the back and does a crazy strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with Jarno, it's exactly right. That was the shocker. He's in this championship fight. It would even spring into your mind's capacity that he could effectively be knocked out of Q1. It's totally against his nature as a professional and as a competitor, and especially at such a fragile point of the championship with only 3 races left to go, to all of a sudden be plunged out in Q1 is just unfathomable. And no doubt that hence why he was so disappointed where we panned the cameras across to him, and now he's going to have to look across to see what the young prodigy Jake Benham, the all-star as I call him, a young man who is, I'm sure, they have the future in mind for this young man, I think.
Absolutely. Now, we've spoken a few times over the course of the season, Nick, about momentum. Have we now just rubbished that momentum means nothing after Otmir, who we know off the back of everything we saw in the last event, being knocked out in Q1?
No, but it just shows, and I keep saying this every time I'm on the show, it just shows how competitive this championship is. You're within tenths of a second of one slip-up and you're out of Q1. This, I would say, takes the pressure off of Jake. He's now, he's beaten his teammate, he's out-qualified his teammate. He's not going for a championship or anything like that, so he can just, lay his hair down a little bit and see where he can get to in Q2. But yeah, momentum, you would say, is with you and it helps you, but not with a championship like this, literally where, anyone on the grid can make your day or make or break your day. And unfortunately, Otmir didn't have the best of sessions.
Yeah, it's an absolute savage championship. Just when you think you're on a high, and then all of a sudden, 15 other drivers will just do that tiny bit more than you on one occasion, and that's it. You're basically praying for a miracle for this evening's show. Remember, it's on slightly earlier today. Your host, Tom Deacon, will have all the information later on as well. But thank you for coming and joining us for this quali show. A bit earlier than normal. Patrick Shepos has set a lap time. As you can see, a lot of these drivers on a used set of tyres. Barry Burman currently at the top of that with a 28.5. We're still yet to see Ron Haar, who is the one I have the most intrigue for, to see if he's going to dip into the 1 minute 27s immediately. Because, of course, he was right on the cusp with a 28.0 in Q1. And
What do we reckon pole will be Q3 time-wise?
do you want to have a little prediction game again, or I mean, is this going to ramp up between here and Q3?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm going to say a 27-7.
yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah,
27-7.
27-6. I want to raise you.
Sure.
I raise you.
I raise you.
I'm going to check.
All right,
check on
in
this
the
one.
Twitch chat right now, get your predictions in. What time do you think pole will be? All right, get it in right now. Thank you. Right, moving on. Q2.
Manuel Biancalila, come on. It's not been a season for him. So close to getting a race ban. It's just a couple more
Yeah,
penalties
the
for
penalty
him.
points, yeah.
Lots of
Come
clothes
on,
as well.
Manuel Biancalila. And if you do, maybe get a podium. Hayden's nan would like to be shocked again.
Well, I believe that Freddie Rasmussen's on the same level of penalty points as Biancalila.
Just as high, isn't he?
Just as high. So I think, you know, that again, if another incident happens, could be another...
That's why I've written him off the championship, because I'm like that. I'm in that sort of mood now.
Yeah, you're a bit savage.
He's
today.
raging.
Tom,
Well, I'm just coming to terms.
Freddie watches this show back and wins the championship. I hope he ats you and goes, I was out of what, sorry? I wasn't going to win it?
I'll say it to his face at a distance. I'm just saying, but on form, we know how good Freddie Rasmussen is. We know what he's capable of. But in the seasons of the Pro Championship, he just hasn't quite managed to get across the line and deliver. And yet, the driver that we've always gone, how does he manage to do it? Race after race. He's Jarno Opmeer. He's out of Q1. So maybe it is the year for Freddie Rasmussen. But I'm still not going to go back on my words. I'm not going back on my words. I'm just saying for everybody that I do have a
Don't
heart.
try and climb back onto the fence. No, you've chosen your
I've
side.
got down. This fence needs painting. It's creosote in time. I'm getting away from the fence.
Right, let's get onto some action now. Nicholas Longay on an outlap. And this is where you wonder, maybe we'll see some fresh set of tyres out there. 28.5, that's nowhere near even the cut-off for Q1. That was a 28.2, so plenty of time still out there for all of the drivers. Nicholas Longay, usually a qualifying specialist. We've seen moments of brilliance from him. Monza was a bit of a missed opportunity maybe for Longay, but still some very good points with him and his teammate. I do love the camera angle that they give us. You just see the arms go from one side to the other as he goes through the S's.
Because they're steering that.
I felt that in my spine.
Yeah.
That hurt.
You were so
because
happy at the
they're
start of the show,
steering.
Nick. What happened? I know you can't see the steering wheel.
No,
That's
but
what
I'm just
I
saying,
mean.
that's why it happens.
Oh, right. Here we go. Nicholas Longay. How is his sector times stacking up? 32.3 for the first sector. That would suggest a used set of tyres for Longay. But Sebastian Job's out there on a fresh set, 32.070. That's a lot quicker than anybody else has managed so far in this session. Beresny, 32.2. You have to imagine both the Alfa Romeos will be on the same run plan. But that's a bit wide for Longay. Was that too wide? No, he's OK. Weigang, on the other hand, has invalidated his lap time. Bit of a scratch of the nose of Longay down the straight as he now heads towards... We call it 130R the legendary corner, and it is, but in these modern-day cars, it is the easiest corner in the world. It's basically just a straight.
But we would still lose time, probably, to these guys, wouldn't we? Going through something that's just a little left.
Perhaps.
Whatever you say, Matt.
First 27.
Nick was
It's
in
the opposite. Sebastian Job has done a 27.9, though, the first driver into the 27s. Is that wrong, Nick? Or is that right? OK, good. Simon Weigang.
You pierced the skin earlier with your
He is
comment.
invalidated. He's invalidated his lap time, Weigang, so he'll be heading into the pits, I am sure. Oh,
Where is Ron Hart?
Ron Hart is doing a blistering first sector, a whole 1/10 quicker than what Job managed in the first sector alone. In the middle sector, he has matched Job to the 1,000th as Jake Benham goes second with a 28.0.
That's a good lap.
A very good lap time from Jake Benham. But here's Thomas Ron Hart. Is he about to destroy the hopes and dreams of all of his championship contenders? It's a 27.893. It's not daylight between himself and Job. Blakely's done a very good middle sector. Over the line comes Lucas Blakely, and it's P2 for him. 3,000
Very good lap.
of a second behind Ron Hart. Fabrizio just about manages to get into the 27s. Barry Burman there into the 27.9s as well. Into third, Freddie Rasmussen slots in P6. So Ron Hart, not as much daylight between him and the rest of his competitors.
No, not quite. Only a fringe or the gap thinner than a fly's eyelash at this stage. 3 thousandths is the gap. Lucas Blakely, I tell you what, if you're McLaren, you're going to be a very happy bunny right now. It just solidifies your position at the top of the team's championship. And I'm sure they'll be saying stop the count at this point. But give Ron Haar credit. Again, like I said, he has never felt so good. Obviously, I've spoken to him, and he's so confident.
You hadn't mentioned, actually, you spoke to him.
I have.
Was it like a long sort of dinner date, or was it just a little...
Was it a WhatsApp call? Was it a Zoom call?
It was a Discord chat.
Oh, a Discord chat.
Yeah.
Oh,
A little
okay.
chinwag with the young man. But yeah, no, he's top of the billing. So, I mean, look, if you're first in both sessions, then you're going to go into Q3 with an awful lot of confidence.
Yep, so then the question now is, does Ron Haar bother going again? Does Blakely bother going again? There's not as big of a gap, I suppose, to the other drivers, but it's still a couple of tenths to what currently Marcel Kiefer is sitting on in P10. So perhaps Ron Haar and Blakely can save another set of tyres. As you mentioned, Hayden, that will give Ron Haar 3 sets to play with in Q3. It will give Blakely a couple as well. And that's the kind of advantage you want to have in such a crucial qualifying like this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we said that it's maybe not as easy for them this session as it was in Q1, but even having one extra set of tyres is going to give them the advantage. I mean, look at the other drivers down there. Nicholas Longuet, I think, had to go on an old set of tyres on his second run in this session because he could only put in a 28.8. I didn't see any big mistakes from him on his lap. So the likes of Longuet, Biancalila, Beresne, we're going to see big improvements from those drivers. Obviously, Weigang is yet to set a lap as well. But are they going to get themselves up into that 0.8? It's going to be a struggle. So for me, it could be worth the risk. But then if it isn't, then you look like an idiot.
Yeah, you do. Quick mention to Benham, currently 7th, which is a really solid result if that stays the way it does. Of course, we've got plenty of improvements to come. But Benham once again showing that the pace is there in that Mercedes team and within the setup somewhere.
Yeah, and as I said, the pressure's off, so he could just now enjoy the rest of his session. And when the pressure's off, you can just relax and drive in your natural style. And we know that Jake has a lot of raw pace, and to have shown that already in P7 on his first lap is really good. So hopefully, you can have a strong second run and make it into the top 10.
Still plenty to play for, though, in the Teams Championship, and Mercedes very much still fighting for P2, so there's plenty of money on the line, and Benham has to lead that charge now that Otmar is in 16th. So if Benham can be in that sort of top 5, top 6, there's some points to at least then fall back to the next 2 races that Mercedes don't see second place as too far in the distance.
Yeah, and that's their priority, and that'll be Benham's priority, because at the end of the day, he's not in the Drivers' Championship fight. He'll have the Team's Championship certainly well ingrained into his brain. I want to talk about Sebastian Jobe as well, because he's like one of the most versatile drivers on this grid. He's accomplished at various different sims, but not only that, now becoming the Red Bull official sim driver. I think that just speaks volumes, and still on this F1 game, 4th fastest in Q2, and not too far away from the top end as well. He's in the 27s too.
Yeah, it's one of those. Job's been very good this year, picking up great sort of top 5, top 6s, getting lots of points on the board for AlphaTauri, who are currently 6th, I think, in the Team's Championship, best of the rest, I think you called them. But then he has these moments where you go, OK, maybe he could actually be in the shot of winning a race at some point or getting a really, really good result. And it does question maybe whether this whole AlphaTauri switching in, switching out method is the way to go. Do you just stick behind Job and Ido and that be your set 2, and then you have that third driver like Liam Parnellis, for example, in Red Bull, working on the setups? For me, I just want to question that and whether that is the right way to go when you've got 2 such talented drivers that we've seen this year.
They could have a lot more points as a team, I think. It's not being bad to Joni Tommala. I mean, he's still a very competitive driver to be on this grid and to be, not miles off of the bottom. He is fighting, sometimes getting into Q2, sometimes getting into Q3, fighting for points. So we're not saying bad about him, but Josh Ido, Sebastian Jobe have been the stronger drivers, and both of them are looking at that Red Bull seat because Marcel Kiefer is under pressure. So both of them are going to trying to one-up each other to try and get that seat for next season, maybe.
However, Marcel Kiefer, like George says, isn't in a title championship race at the moment, yet is there to just do one job at the moment, as that to make sure that Red Bull finish 2nd in the team championship. So I think the pressure's off Marcel in many respects. Just get some points, and today Red Bull have got the advantage going into our next race in Brazil, knowing that they're going to get more points than Mercedes.
Here's Danny Beresnay from the last couple of corners. This is his final attempt in Q2. A little bit of a squirrely exit from Danny Beresnay, but it's going to be P3 for... That is a brilliant lap time from the veteran of F1 Esports, Danny Beresnay. P3 for him. Nicolas Longuet then displaces him and goes third. That's a great couple of laps for the Alfa Romeo drivers. Daniele Haddad, we saw what it meant to him at the end of Q1. Will we be seeing a similar video of him screaming "Vamos" or something similar? We're going to have to wait and see. Through 130R, he's a couple of tenths up on what he's managed at the moment, which is 28.1.
He's looking like 27s,
This could be a 27.8 for Daniele Haddad, and that's starting to then question if Burman's in trouble. Sebastian Job goes fastest of anybody and goes to the top of the timesheets. Daniele Haddad manages 7th fastest for now. Biancalila sliding through the last chicane. It's 14th at the moment, and it's going to stay 14th for him. Marcel Kiefer, we say no pressure on him. Well, his teammate's just gone fastest of anybody with a 27.867. There's pressure on him now as Kiefer now drives towards the line. Can he get anywhere near the top 10? Oh, he goes 11th. Does Kiefer. Jake Benham, 12th, and he manages P10. Is there anyone that's going to displace him? It could be Van Erven. It is Van Erven who goes 10th fastest. Simon Weigang is the only driver yet to score or put a lap time on the board as Ron Hart improves his position at the top of the timesheets. Weigang, where does he end up? We wait to see. Currently my thing still says 11th fastest for Simon Weigang, so just misses out. But it's Ron Hart again.
Wow.
With a stonking lap time, 27.707. It's just over a tenth and a half clear off the field, which is a gargantuan margin in F1 Esports terms. Crazy. Lots of changes there at the end.
Yeah, I think Ron Hart, again, I saw him going purple in that second sector and I thought, hello, here we go. And immediately to the top. Incredible. I mean, Rasmussen was there as well, put in a blistering first sector. Haddad was the holder of the second sector purple lap as well, to a certain degree. So obviously a mistake in that final sector, unfortunately, reducing his prospects heading into Q3, obviously now being eliminated. But again, Mercedes, both cars now out heading into the final session, does not bode well for the team's championship.
It doesn't, no. But Benham, it's a decent result. 11th for him. I think he'll be quite happy with that, considering where Otmir's starting. Haddad out as well, so we won't be seeing any it's a great passion from him. Kiefer, 13th. There's going to be a few questions around his seat for next year, potentially, with how this season has gone. And there is Benham. He's not too happy at all. But, it's not great to see these video links of the kind of disappointment. Kiefer as well there just knows that wasn't enough for him. And, of course, we know that the AlphaTauri team are just pretty much next door. Like, hey, keep that seat warm.
Josh Eno looking over his shoulder at Freddie Rasmussen's screen. Obviously, Marcel's going to have to be looking over his shoulder at those guys because the pressure is on. And, as you spoke about earlier, once the pressure's on, you start to go on a downward spiral. And I feel like that is kind of what we are seeing at the moment with Marcel because he just looks so down after every single session.
And I'm most down because I predicted him was going to finish P1, which was really, if anything, was just to try and inspire Marcel.
It didn't work, did it? Let's take a look at the bottom 5 from Q2. Weigang, Benham, Haddad, Kiefer and Biancalila. Big shout-out to Patrick Schipos in the Alpine, managing to make it through to Q3.
He didn't look that happy.
And
didn't look
Van
very
Erven
happy.
as well.
Yeah, Matthias Van Erven. Yes, big shout-out to that lad. Haas,
2
dominated.
Hasses in Q3. As you can see, Q3 has begun. Lucas Blakely already out the pits, ready to go and set some sort of banker lap time on a used set of tyres.
And in the team championship, how about this? Mercedes, if they keep dropping points like they've kind of frittered away today, Haas have got a chance to gain on them in the team championship.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if Ron Hart manages to secure the victory today, and Van Erven currently obviously in the top 10 for later this evening. We've got both Danny Beresnay and Nicolas Longuet as well, and the Alfa Romeos managing to make it through as well. Donoso flying the flag for Ferrari. Plenty of storylines here, and I'm properly excited to see how this Q3 session unfolds, Nick.
Yeah, I just keep looking at the screen and, I see Lucas Blakely, I see Barry Burmond, and it's almost like I expect them to be in Q3. it's like I just expect them to be there because they've been so consistent all the way through the season. But then you look at the likes of Matthias van Erven, who's done a fantastic job getting into Q3. And it just shows, obviously with what Otmir struggled with today, you should never just expect anyone to be in Q3 because literally anyone could be knocked out at any moment. And it made me realise, yeah, you should just take every race as it comes because you never know what's going to happen and you always have to give your 110% because literally one mistake and you're out. And yeah, so that, as you were speaking, that's pretty much what came into my mind. I shouldn't always expect the top 5, the people that we see all the time in Q3, to be in Q3 because this championship doesn't allow that.
And it's testament to Burman, to Blakely and to Ronha to manage that feat of being in Q3 every single week without fail. That is, you know, not all 3 of them can't win the driver's title, but to have that kind of momentum, as we talk about, going into next year and knowing that they can perform mentally as well, because it's a mental game, this. All of these drivers, every single one of them has a PB that can probably get them in the top 5. It's delivering that personal best, which is the issue. But to have that mental strength is something that not only the drivers should be commended for, but also the teams for putting in the work for the drivers to get that mental preparation right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference between essentially getting a seat for the next season as well as, you know, securing big points for the current championship, you know. So a lot of drivers will have this on their mind, certainly those that aren't in necessarily the championship fight. But if you look at that list, I mean, going back to Patrick Sipos, I think that was a sensational Q2 from him, and you know, to come into this now and essentially be fighting for pole, I think is brilliant. Again, another young rookie that has come into this championship, and again just heightens the competitiveness, I think, that we have seen just improve year on year.
I think
The level is crazy, isn't it?
I think I read there actually with Patrick Sipos when he went through and he was saying it for Philip Schneider's toe. That's what he was saying when he got through to Q3.
He didn't look happy.
He didn't look happy because he felt the pain of Philip Schneider not being able to race and his toe. And I think that's, if I was right, lip reading.
Like sympathy
Body
pain,
language expert as well over here.
He was going,
He's bringing the psychology into
It's
it.
for you, toe.
OK, moving away from the toe, as it is Q3, and Thomas Ronha will definitely have a fresh set of softs on his car. So, George Morgan, why don't you take us through this lap?
Yep, let's ride on board here with Thomas Ronha as he makes his way down through towards turn 1. This, at the end of the day, will certainly offer plenty of pace heading through this section. Obviously vital that he can get a good first sector in the bag as he now makes his way out of turn 1. He'll then make his way towards the next section. Not afraid to tackle the curbs here, Thomas Ronha, looking ever so glued onto the tarmac in front of him as he now sends it up through towards this next right. He's got another left up ahead of him now very shortly. You've got to be very careful though. You can very easily land yourself into the gravel if you're not careful. He's got the Degners coming up next through the first one, and then the second. Again, aggressive on the curbs, then attacking the throttle straight away up through towards this very tantalising hairpin bend. This is where you could find a few drivers pulling off some overtakes as we head into the race later on, as he now then hits the throttle on the outset, uses 4th gear for grip as he now powers it up through towards the spoon curve as well. Beresnay now going fastest, but I'm sure Ronha will be looking to try and take that from him as he now enters spoon curve. Now again, takes a lot of the curves on the outside of that particular corner, and he'll tackle him again before venturing down towards the 130R. Again, you can leave the foot to the floor around this section, as Matt alluded to, pretty much a straight at this point. Full throttle down towards the chicane section. Again, you want to try and brake before the 100, though he might leave it late. No, smack on the 100. He'll then tackle the first curve into the second, and then once again just raising the throttle, feathering the throttle as he makes his way down towards the line. Will he topple Freddie Rasmussen? He will, with a sensational 27.567.
27.5?
That's unreal.
I was going to say the rest of the drivers have to go home, but they are technically at home, or at some sort of F1 HQ. But Lucas Blakely is slotted in 0.2 of a second behind. Barry Burman manages to go second as well, but still in the 0.7s. Thomas Ronha's lap time is absolutely ridiculous. Donoso manages P4 with a 27.8, but that might well be the unofficial lap of the season.
Just call me the Oracle, Matt Gallagher.
Yeah, that, I mean, look, the stats pointed towards it. You are the Oracle. There you go. Donoso, P4. He's doing a great job as well in that Ferrari. Very much in the mix for tonight's race with that kind of lap time. But you were just commentating then. I was just looking at the sector times going, oh, my goodness me, is this going to be a 26? Like, it was purple, then purple, then purple. And that is a lap time that I think a lot of us can probably confidently say is insurmountable. We will see. It's probably going to be a 27.3 now from Lucas Blakely. But Blakely right now, P3, is good enough for the two McLaren Shadow drivers in second and third to take it to Ron Hart this evening, especially if they're together as a team. They can mount a charge. How will they work together, though? That's going to be an interesting dynamic, because McLaren Shadow have wrapped up the team's championship and put it under the Christmas tree. That's done. Now it's the drivers. Now it's the egos. Now it's who are we going to put the eggs? Which basket is it going to go into? Of course, you have to say that Blakely, of course, leading the Drivers' Championship, there's going to be the advantage there. Do McLaren back him? But if Barry, #BackBarry, is ahead of Lucas in qualifying, you've got all kinds of questions to be answered.
Well, you raise a brilliant point, because I've been coming into this final event. McLaren are the only team to have two drivers fighting for the Drivers' Championship. So, you know, you can't really throw team orders into the mix. To see one man I feel sorry for is Wilson Hughes, who is obviously the number 3. He hasn't had a look in this season, but, you know, credit to Barry Burman and Lucas Blakely. Both of them have done absolutely phenomenal jobs, but it does throw a bit of a strange catalyst to the forefront. I mean, I know I made allusions to Prost and Senna back in Imola. Surely not again.
Well, I mean, for Ron Hart's sake, he'll probably be praying for that. But, yeah, I think those two are professionals. They clearly get on really, really well. But this is the kind of dynamic that we don't usually see at F1 Esports, because they're all fighting for the same cause, the team's championship. When that's wrapped up, there might be a few little dive bombs, which I am very excited to see, especially if they're fighting for the lead. But that's something to be answered later this evening. Other drivers we should talk about. Rasmussen, currently 5th with a 28.3. He's not got a fresh set of tyres, a lap time anyway, with those fresh set yet. He'll have that for the final go here in Q3. 2 minutes 42 to go. Danny Beresnay, again, he's gone out there on a used set of tyres. We're still yet to see a lap time from Job or Job. I'm still not sure which one to say it, but I'm just going to go with both. Longuet and Sheepos.
He says Job. He says Job.
He says Job.
He says
Job. Both of these said Job, so it kind of threw me off. And I was like...
definitely Job. He says Job. Definitely says Job.
Now, George, have you had a private conversation with him to find out?
I haven't. That is one thing. I slipped up there.
Maybe for next time,
yeah,
tomorrow. Have a little Discord chat.
I'll have a little private chat with our friend Sebastian Job.
It's okay, George. Matt's just jealous. He's jealous.
Well, he's a Red Bull Simulator driver now, so congrats to him.
Got friends in high places.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, 2 minutes to go, business end of the session. How do we see this unfolding, Nick Hamilton?
I think it's unfolded in terms of who we can see at the top and on pole. I think Thomas Ronhart, he hasn't put a foot wrong all qualifying session. He's only done one lap in each session, and it's gone top of the timesheets by a comfortable margin as well. So it's down to the rest of them to catch him, and to have such a sizable margin within the F1 Esports Championship. I haven't seen a margin like that before in qualifying. You know, it just shows how much faster he is.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
It is vile.
It's rancid. I hate it. I hate it. He's just so good. I mean, not only has he got incredible grip on track, he's got a grip on the fact that Q1, Q2, and Q3, he has just shown he's a different class at the moment. That is that, and it comes down to the race, and it's the racecraft. We've always said this, that, I mean, Barry Barman and Lucas Blakely have got it to do for McLaren in terms of battling. So maybe it is coming down to Freddie Rasmussen. He's going to stay away from any trouble that might happen, and then come on through to get the win in Suzuka.
The funny thing is, a couple of years ago, pole by 2 tenths, we've gone, oh, yeah, good lap. But because the level has been stepped up to a place that we've never seen before, that is ridiculous from Ron Hart. Blakely, what can he do? Can he bounce back after that lap time from Ron Hart? We'll keep a very close eye on the sector times. Blakely 0.06 of a second behind Ron Hart in the first sector. So it's doable. That first sector is an improvement for Lucas Blakely. Now into the hairpin. It's a little bit deep, I would say.
Lucas is in third in turn 11 hairpin.
Slightly different to what we saw from Ron Hart. But Blakely maybe just trying a little bit too hard on the brakes there as he now heads towards Spoon Curve. Wants to try and risk it for the chocolate biscuit, and he absolutely has. He is skirting the white line there on both corner entry and exit. As we now, Danny Beresney's gone to second position. What a lap time from him, a 27.6 for Danny Beresney, and all of a sudden, we could see some improvements out there. Lucas Blakely now, can he improve from fourth on the grid? He'll want to if he wants to protect his championship lead. Lucas Blakely, can he improve from fourth? He goes to third. Displaces Barry Burramand. Nicholas Longay has seen his teammate go to second. He goes to the top of the timesheets. Unbelievable from Nicholas Longay. P1 for him in the Alfa Romeo. Patrick Schipos has gone to third. There's plenty of improvements out there. Sebastian Job does not manage to put a lap time there. Barry Burramand now. Where can he go? Only sixth fastest. And we now turn our attentions to Freddie Rasmussen. He's eighth at the moment. We haven't seen a fresh soft run from him. He goes to fourth in the Red Bull. And now we look to Thomas Ronhaar. How is he looking? It's purple in the first. It's purple in the second. It's slightly wiggly out of the last corner. Thomas Ronhaar does go to the top of the timesheets with a 27.506. Van Erven, his teammate, can only manage ninth. And it's Donoso over the line, which we will find out very shortly. But it's Thomas Ronhaar. Donoso goes eighth. It's Thomas Ronhaar manages to displace Longay, which we did not expect, right at the end. But yes, George Morgan, you are the oracle.
Feeling pretty smug now, right now, Matt. Feeling
Well
pretty
done.
smug.
His average position might even go to the 1 point something now, which is just ridiculous. But Ronhaar, we didn't think he'd need to improve, but he did.
Yeah, I was actually quite shocked. When we said about the lap times, I was just trying to one-up you, basically. I wasn't expecting it to be in the point sixes. The fact that he nearly got in the point fours, he was only 0.06 of a second away from the point fours, is incredible. So there definitely was a lot of lap time on the cards there. So a big shame for the McLaren drivers because they were looking so comfortable at the start of that Q3 session, and it's all fallen away from them.
What
a
race from Nicholas Longay. Someone who hasn't found the consistency and the form all year, but it just goes to show, you know, save it for the day.
Longay, one of those drivers that does turn up on his day, but Patrick Schipos in third. Like, that is a performance that we were looking at Q1 going, the Alpine, they were 15th and 20th, I think, when we looked at them. Oh, not sure about this. Schipos, out of nowhere, sticks it third ahead of Rasmussen. You have Beresney in fifth, Blakely down in sixth, our championship leader. A lot of work to do there. Then Burramand, Donoso, Van Erven and Job. But that is a grid that's quite spicy, you'd have to say, Nick.
It is indeed, yeah. I mean, I wish you had a camera on me when all of those drivers were coming across the line, because honestly, it was just my jaw was dropped. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, how they could find the improvement in lap time, literally on their last lap of the session. I thought I wasn't going to see Thomas Ronhaar's time being beaten, but then for Thomas Ronhaar to be able to pull it out of the bag and raise the bar even higher when it counts was super impressive.
Very special indeed for Ronhaar. Right, let's reflect on qualifying now that we've just seen all of that chaos and go to Otmir. Originally Q1 out. Of course, a lot of work to do this evening. It's going to be a disappointment. He went to fifth at the end of the session. I mean, George, you were confident. Oh yeah, we'll see him in Q2. Lovely stuff. But then the improvements came, and unfortunately for him, he was knocked out by Nicholas Longay, who will start on the front row of the grid. So that'll be a fascinating thing to see what the likes of Longay managed to do, because when you look at the grid, you've got Longay, Schipos, second and third. Both of them have absolutely nothing to lose. They will both want a victory come tonight's race, which is going to be fascinating to watch. But Otmir, the only way we're going to see him pull off some sort of miracle is rain. We're going to have to see some rain for tonight's show. And to be fair, I'd love to see a changeable condition race.
Sorry, can I just make a point? Patrick Schipos and Nicholas Longay, they're not fighting for a title, right? So they want to win. They'll want to take their first win of the season, whatever it is. But Ronhaar, he's fighting for the title. So what does he do? How does he play it? Does he try and stay out of trouble? Are the other drivers behind him going to try and dive bomb him to try and take a win from him? It's going to be really, really interesting to see how everyone plays it.
One thing to add to that as well, I believe Ronhaar and Longay have come together a few times this season. Zandvoort sticks out of mind, and also Monza, they came together. So the fact they're starting 1 and 2 on the grid could be spicy.
Yeah, so Ronhaar, what does he do? You know, an excellent qualifying performance from him, but it is now very much looking in your mirrors, making sure that, you know, the likes of Longay and Schipos don't try anything silly. He's clearly got the pace. I think maybe, you know, maybe there's a little bit more left on the table for Ron Har when you look at his first run in Q3. Maybe there was an extra half a tenth in there, but he still manages to secure pole position. But this is where you need that mentality, that maturity to go, oh, if Longuet's going to send one up my inside, do I try and squeeze him, or do I think, right, let's just let him go,
Think about
and
the
we'll take him
championship.
back. Yeah, because at the end of the day, all he needs to do is beat the likes of Blakely, who's in 6th. You've got Rasmussen, who Tom Deacon wrote off, 4th. 2nd, you could say, in the championship contenders. So this is where it's going to test Ron Har, because yes, he has to gain, but he also needs to make sure a Bahrain doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I think the launch off the line is going to be imperative. I think one little mistake is going to be battered away. Longuet isn't one to take prisoners, and he's had a lot of heartache himself over the years. I mean, I hark back to USA last year, where he had that little error coming down in towards the DRS section, and I think little things like that.
Break too late, didn't he?
Break too late, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
Gave away
It
the
ended in
DRS.
tears for him. And the thing is, these things can happen around Suzuka very easily. You know, we talk about that hairpin. You know, turn 1, you can very easily go late on the brakes there and shoot through and lose control of the car. But yeah, it's all going to be imperative. I think the first lap, it's going to take a few guys, a long time to settle down, I think.
Certainly is, because you're going to have the jitters, the nerves. This is the final week. Ron Har can do what he likes, and he's feeling confident. He's done loads of laps and whatever, but nothing can prepare you for the 5 lights coming on, knowing that there's a $750,000 prize fund at the end of this if you manage to. Of course, the team's championship, McLaren's probably got that wrapped up, but there's a lot of money on the line, essentially, and a lot of pride as well to win such a prestigious title like the F1 Esports Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, it's so easy just to say, let's be smart, let's just let these guys through if they do get too aggressive with us so that we don't lose time or get damage or anything like that. But there's still 3 races left to go. He might not be as quick in the last 2. So therefore, Blakely, it could go back to their side. So you have to try and pick up as many points as you possibly can whilst being sensible. So there's a lot going on. It's like you said, you can put in all the hours that you've said he has done, but as soon as it comes into this scenario, that all goes out the window. He's just reacting to what's going on around you.
Fascinating stuff. Let's take a look at the top 10 classification then and how they will line up on the grid for this evening's race. Thomas Ron Har, a sensational pole position, but not by as much as we thought. Nicholas Longuet, a great lap from him in P2. Patrick Sheepos, what can he manage from 3rd on the grid? Freddie Rasmussen still in with a chance in 4th. Then Danny Beresne, he's in the mix once again. Great to see him performing in the Alfa Romeo car. Then you've got the 2 McLaren shadows of Blakely and Burremand. Ahead of Donoso, Van Erven, great performance from him in the 2nd Haas. And then Sebastian Job, no time set at the end there, which I'm sure he will be ruining because there was definitely 9th on the cards, at least if he'd just set a lap time, as Van Erven was 8/10 back. But plenty to look forward to. There you've got Donoso flying the flag for Ferrari, and you've got Sheepos again in 3rd in the Alpine. Nick Hamilton, what are your final thoughts? What's your takeaways from qualifying? What can we look forward to this evening?
I think Ron Har is incredibly fast. He doesn't seem to be fazed by any of the pressures that are on him at the moment, being the rookie of the year so far, going for his first title. But what I'm really, really interested in is obviously Lucas Blakely and the McLarens are in the 6th and 7th. How is Ron Har going to play his race this evening? Because if he makes a mistake or collides, that could end his opportunity to potentially take his first title. So I'm going to really wait and see, and really excited to see what happens.
Because we talk about Ron Har and how he will manage the race, but I guess if anything, there's more pressure on Blakely, who's 6th, knows his championship, one of his championship contenders is on pole and will most likely win the race if everything goes to plan. How does Blakely deal with that? He's got his teammate behind him, so there can't be any Burremand tactics from up front. They both have to start working through the field.
Yeah, they've got to go and be aggressive, haven't they? They've got to try and get as many positions as they can. You're looking at the likes of Sheepos, who's going to be out of position, not used to being fighting up there in the F1 Esports Series. So maybe that's a position you can try and take away as Beresne as well. But they're going to have to try and be as aggressive and also work on the strategy to try and pick up positions and maybe even hope for a little bit of rain. So there's going to be a few drivers out there doing a rain dance for tonight.
Absolutely, including us. We'll see some
as
well. Right, that is it. That's the quali show done and dusted. Let's take a look at what the evening show looks like. 5:30 p.m, so it's an earlier time than usual. Make sure you come and tune in to the show hosted by the one and only Tom Deacon for the race around Suzuka in Japan. Round 10 awaits us. Thank you so much to everybody on this sofa. There's so many, and for you watching at home. And we'll see you for tonight's show at Suzuka. Bye-bye.
The Esports Pro Championship brings together the world's fastest esports drivers.
Time to push. It's time to show us what you've really got.
The first to roll the dice.
Pedal to the metal. Let's go out and we're racing. Can run half force in wide. He shows him over the curve. Brilliant racing between the two of them. Has Rasmussen played it to perfection? This is going to be so tight. For the first time in F1 Esports, it's Barry Barman who is the winner.
What we love about F1 Esports, it's all coming to the boil now.
The competition just keeps getting better.